Now we're going to talk a little torture, a little investigations, a little Gitmo. Woohoo! Fun for everybody. Michael Isikoff of Newsweek joins us. Michael, welcome back on the Young Turks.
Hey, good to be with you.
All right. I was talking to Dan Kleiman about this last week, and you wrote about it here with Mark Hosenball as well, about what the Eric Holder investigation is going to look like if they actually do it. You guys are reporting that he's not really going to go after any of the top administration guys, but the lower guys who might have done some of these acts of torture. That seems ridiculous, doesn't it? I mean, if they got ordered to do things, are they going to stop the investigation?
Well, I think what they're talking about are allegations of abuse that went way beyond anything that was authorized in Justice Department interrogation memos. Now, that said, it's going to be pretty difficult to make criminal cases here, and I don't think even the Holder people fully appreciated just how difficult this is. I mean, the fact is there was a Justice Department task force that had been set up to examine criminal referrals sent over by the CIA, Inspector General's office, and military criminal investigators of egregious abuse cases. And they had a task force that worked it out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Alexandria, Virginia. And I talked to a couple of the guys who ran the task force, and they're career guys. These were not Bush appointees. They were, professional prosecutors. In fact, one of them, quoted in the piece, Ken Melson, was Holder's choice to run the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, and is working at the, a very senior position in the Justice Department right now. He says we looked at these cases aggressively, and inevitably, you had a hard time finding witnesses. There was no forensic evidence. They became very difficult cases to bring, and of the 20 criminal referrals that were sent over, 19 were declined. There was one criminal prosecution brought against a CIA contractor in North Carolina over the beating death of one detainee. But so the question is Holder naming a prosecutor now, years later, going to go back and be able to look at these cases and find cases that weren't there several years ago. Now, I think, they think, yes, maybe, possibly, with a little more aggressive pursuit, and they're kind of hinting maybe there's some new stuff there that might tip the balance. But I think even they recognize that this is going to be a very difficult road to go down, especially when, as they've made absolutely clear, and this gets to your question, we're not talking about high-level Bush administration officials who set the policies here. We're talking about, as in Abu Ghraib, the few bad apples who went beyond what any commander authorized.
Right, except that in Abu Ghraib they did many of the things that were right in the memos, threatening with dogs, naked,
of course,
stripping people down.
No, and that's why. Look, that's been a consistent theme. That the Bush approach under Abu Ghraib left the people who were really ultimately responsible getting off scot-free, and I think that's what the criticism is going to be of this Holder probe if it goes down the road they're talking about.
All right, let's back up for a second and talk about the numbers. I know we've had at least 100 detainees killed in detention. 34 of them have already been ruled homicides. Now, I read that many years ago, and then those numbers never got updated after I read that maybe in 2006, right? Do we know if those numbers have been updated? And if we do, and I know this is a tough question on the spot here, but of the 34 homicides, how many of them have been tried or convicted?
Well, I think that of the 20 criminal referrals I referred to, many of them were homicides, so that would be a subset of the 34. But I come back to the issue that, what the prosecutors say is the problem here is identifying witnesses who can testify to what happened, finding forensic evidence. Almost all this took place in Iraq and Afghanistan in battle, in battle zones where you don't have FBI agents who are available to be on the scene right after the spot, the way you would in a murder in the United States. You don't have the people who can come in, secure the crime scene, pick out the evidence, and then test it forensically, send it to the FBI crime lab.
Right.
All the things you need to put together a successful homicide prosecution.
But what are we supposed to do here? I mean, are we just supposed to let it go? Say, now, I know that it's hard to collect the evidence of witnesses, etc., but there is one piece of evidence that's undeniable: the dead bodies. Somebody killed them, right? So,
Right.
Don't we have to have some accounting for that? Say, somebody write some sort of report saying, this is why at least we think they died, even though we might not be able to convict this guy or try that guy?
I think that this gets to the whole idea: should there be something, a commission, a truth commission, some sort of independent body that goes and looks at all these, allegations, and there are plenty out there, and there's plenty of hard evidence out there that can be put together, and it may not add up to a criminal prosecution because you would have I think everybody recognizes whichever road you go down, whether you try to go after Bush policymakers or you go, try to restrict it in the way Holder's talking about it, you're going to have a tough time making criminal cases. And what's worse, you could have a grand jury investigation that goes on for a couple of years. If they don't bring a prosecution, it's all covered by grand jury secrecy, and we never learn anything anyway. So the public will never learn and get the kind of accountability you're talking about. I think all that argues for the other road, which Senator Leahy talked about and Senator Whitehouse. But politically, the support doesn't seem to be there. You have the president says he wants to look forward, not backward. You don't seem to have the appetite in Congress for it. So, I think the best we're going to be able to hope for at this point, for those who think the way you do, is get more of the evidence declassified, more of the internal government documents declassified, get more out there into the public sphere so we can read the memos, read the CIA Inspector General's report, which we've yet to see, but is now scheduled for some sort of release on August 24th. And hopefully that will provide at least some measure of the kind of accountability you're talking about.
All right, one more question on this, Michael. And we're talking to Michael Isikoff from Newsweek. He's written Holder's Probe Has Its Critics. We have a link up to it at theyoungturks.com. Of course, Newsweek.com has it, also in Newsweek itself. Do you think the media has done a decent job here of covering the torture for what it is? I mean, we talk about waterboarding a lot, and maybe that's distracted us a little bit. There were these homicides. We beat people to death, and you hardly ever see that written. Obviously, it's written in your piece, but you hardly ever see that written. Do you think we almost whitewash the torture a little bit here, or help the government to do it?
Well, look, I think the media, I don't want to be too self-congratulatory here, but, has done a reasonable job of following this story. Did we, get on it as quickly as we should have? No, of course not. Has the full story been told? Absolutely not. But there's been, I think this has been a story largely driven by the media, and it's been particularly difficult because the underlying core evidence so much of it remains classified. And when it remains classified, it makes it very easy for those who are trying to conceal the truth from the public to do so, because it's classified, it's national security, we can't talk about it. And it was certainly the case under the Bush administration. It's been, far too often still the case under the Obama administration. It's President Obama's CIA director, Leon Panetta, who has fiercely disclosure of the operational cables on interrogations, who's resisted the disclosure of the CIA Inspector General's report. And the president has the ability to order him to take a different position on that, and he's chosen not to. In fact, after the one release of the investigation memos, the White House seemed to retreat from any further disclosures. So, for those, all I can say is it's not a blame to go around here.
Yeah, no, and I certainly grant you that it's tough when the Republican administration was against looking into this, and it appears the Democratic administration is against looking into this. it makes it a tougher road to go down, certainly. My main point was I don't think the homicides have been emphasized enough. That it seems like, hey, we're these, as Rush Limbaugh says, frat house type of maneuvers, or was it very, very serious? And obviously the homicides lead you to believe.
We certainly don't know enough about those. Hopefully, if we get this CIA Inspector General's report, I think we're going to learn some more on that score.
Yep. Michael Isikoff from Newsweek. As always, thank you for joining us on the Young Turks.
Anytime.